Are we live? Oh, I do apologise. Good evening and welcome to Crawley Borough Council's Cabinet of the 7th of May 2025. I'm Councillor Michael Jones, Leader of the Council and Chair of the Cabinet. There are no scheduled fire drills tonight, so in the event of the fire alarm sounding, please leave the building via the main spiral staircase and through the main reception doors. Once outside, please turn left and make your way to the fire assembly point located beyond the multi-storey car park on Exchange Road. If you're unable to use the stairs, please wait in the council chamber and you will be guided by a member of staff to the evacuation lift. This meeting is being live streamed via the council's YouTube channel. Please note that there is a no comments function available as part of this webcasting. The council is a data controller and will retain the data collected during this webcast. This will be done so in accordance with the council's published data retention policy. Any members of the public seated in the public gallery should be aware that by entering the chamber, they are consenting to their image being captured by the automated camera system. Recordings will be used for webcasting and or training purposes. Councillors are reminded to take note of what is displayed on the screens in the room, as this shows what is being recorded and webcast. Cameras are currently set to capture you in seated positions, so please remain seated when speaking. You can request to speak as usual in committees by raising your hand, to speak by pressing the button with the face on it, and the microphone will go green when you are live. We will now commence with apologies for absence. Have we received any apologies for absence?
Chair, we've received 2 apologies from Councillor Yasmin Khan and Councillor Rana.
Thank you. Does any member have any disclosures of interest?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, sir. By not being a member of the Cabinet, I will be speaking to just declare personal non-prejudicial interest as a member of West Sussex County Council.
Thank you, Councillor Crowe. I may reserve the right to say something a little bit later, but we will now consider local government reorganisation, the joint proposal with Reigate and Banstead Borough Council report. This is set out in the report CEX 70 of the Chief Executive contained within the supplementary agenda. I will now introduce the report and note the views expressed at the full council meeting that happened earlier this evening. I believe that I very much said what I wanted to during the full council. This is a comprehensive, detailed 110-page document that I feel sets out or considers sets out the case or a very viable case for the future of local government covering the Crawley area. When we've had come to the conclusion of discussions, I may come back and respond. But I believe that we have said what has needed to be said in full council. So, Ian, are there any further points that you wish to add?
Thank you, Chair. I think the 2 to make, one was made in the introductory statement that we just need to do a final check on the inclusion within the proposal relating to the engagement that took place and the final results, just make sure that that wording is accurate. I think the second point to make came at the end about strengthening wherever possible to be clear that Crawley Borough Council has not taken a preference and would want to do so before going forward to mitigate against the risk that was identified.
Thank you, Ian. I will now invite Councillor Crowe as the Leader of the Opposition if he wishes to speak on the report.
Thank you, Chairman. We'll just make a few comments if I may. I appreciate this is the formal decision-making body, although I do appreciate the fact that we have had a full council meeting. But I do think this is still going to leave a bad taste in the mouths of Crawley residents. It is a difficult one because full council has just voted for it, so it is right that the Cabinet endorses the view of the full council. But I would still make that caveat that that is not the view of Crawley residents. I just want to read a comment I've just seen from someone who's watched the meeting, and she said, a lady called Emily, she said, really, and I don't know her, she said, really interesting that Labour councillor approach has been to personally attack and mock the opposition by calling them tin hat, conspiracy theorists and Farage-esque. You know, so we had about 80 people watching that meeting, and I'm looking now, we've got 21 watching. It's quite clear that there is a personal preference here, even if this report does not explicitly state that. But it is what it is, and Cabinet ought to, despite my view it being the wrong decision about this proposal going forward, the Cabinet ought to respect the right of the full council and therefore vote for it. But I do think there will be a backlash. There's a backlash amongst Crawley residents for not having any real say. The consultation went down badly, asking people where they go shopping and where they want to go to work, and then that being used as evidence to back up the case is not going down well. And I think this is going to be a running sore until hopefully this option gets ruled out, because if it doesn't get ruled out, the opposition is only going to grow and grow. I'm quite convinced about that. I firmly believe in what is doing right, in what is the best interests of this town. And a lot of things were attributed to me after I spoke by other speakers. Things, words being put into my mouth, things that I did not say. But nevertheless, we are where we are, and we will see what happens. My expectation is that the government will throw this proposal out, because it is muddying the waters, but let's see, and we'll see who's right. But either way, this is not a good day for Crawley. Thank you.
Want to thank Councillor Lunnan for attending as the chair of the Governance Committee. Because of the pace of the deadline, unfortunately the Governance Committee didn't have an opportunity to meet, so I thought it was only right that to offer him the opportunity to speak on this report to the Cabinet. So welcome, Councillor Lunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for inviting me to speak. I don't intend to speak directly to the proposal, as I'd broadly just be repeating what I've already said at full council, but I am going to speak about a few of the issues about how we got here from a good governance perspective. I'm not going to go back over the timelines that the Chief Exec highlighted in his introduction to this report at full council, but please keep them in mind as I make my comments. Obviously, first of all, this proposal hasn't had the chance of prior scrutiny to full council. That can often give us the chance to iron out technicalities, lead to improvements in reports, and shouldn't be missed where at all it can be avoided. That usually leads to better final products, but obviously the timelines did necessitate it. And I hope that our proposals for West Sussex will actually get to carry out the process in full if it's possible. Secondly, the lack of public consultation on such a key issue would be very regrettable if, but I repeat if, this council was expressing a preference for which option it would prefer. Just to be clear again, the council is not expressing an option for which it would prefer, and so whilst the lack of consultation, or the type of consultation so far isn't ideal, it doesn't lead us down the path of not having proper full consultation. The timelines have rather forced the situation on us, and I don't think we could have done anything better in the situations that were demanded of us. But I think in a perfect world, we would expect to see some slightly better public consultation. I think we will be seeing some good consultation on the Sussex options, as it were. And hopefully we'll still be seeing some consultation on the Surrey options at the same time, if it's possible within the timelines that the government give to us. But obviously, if not, I think also that separate public consultation should also be considered, if possible. Finally, I'm not convinced by the argument that it is the Cabinet that should be making this final decision rather than the full council. I think it makes a bit of a mockery of the full council, because it could be that the full council have voted one way, a Cabinet could just entirely go against that decision and flip it on its head. I'm not convinced by the legal argument, especially immediately before council AGM, where the leadership of the council could in theory be changed. Well, that's not going to happen here. It also, in my mind, gives risk to the decision being called in. I'm not quite sure on the technicalities of that in this case, but it'd be an interesting one. And finally, when the council has been considering its response to significant issues before, such as Gatwick Runway, that's been a direct response from the council to effectively a national consultation. It's always been the full council that's decided the final opinion, not Cabinet. So I'm not convinced. I know lots of the other councils are doing it this way as well, so there must have been some clever lawyer somewhere that's worked out this is the correct way of doing it, but I'm not convinced, and obviously it hasn't gone through governance as to which way it should be going round. We haven't had the chance to really ask about that as to which way round it should be, but these are just things that have been missed by the timelines that have been forced on us by the government, and I'm hoping, as I say, with the West Sussex consultations, we can get the process a bit more as per usual. That's all I've got to say, but thank you again for inviting me, and obviously as I said in the full council, I do support this proposal.
Sorry, Ian. Siraj, did you want to? No. I think Ian perhaps wants to come in.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, just to repeat, this is in terms of where the decision is taken, has been something of much debate, as you can imagine. The answer keeps coming back, Cabinet. I think it feels wrong, that answer, but every time that we've gone back to look at it, the same opinion has come back, Cabinet. We here have pushed that's why we need to have a full council meeting before we kind of take the Cabinet decision. It comes down to whether it's a proposal or a decision, as I understand it, as it's been explained to me, and because it's a proposal, with the government making the decision, that's the technicality on it. But if you look across councils right across the country where this is taking place, where they have an executive kind of structure, they followed the same process. So we are fitting in with what is happening everywhere. But I feel that I think we've struggled with is it doesn't quite feel right, which is why we're doing it the way we are.
Thank you, Ian. I think it's certainly true that we wanted to have a full council because we wanted to have that democratic element. We weren't going to ignore the views of members, and it was right, there was an opportunity. But I think throughout all this, we've been following the advice of all our monitoring officers in both Sussex and Surrey. So not just one clever lawyer, Councillor Lunnan, but many clever lawyers, and me, I suppose, I did once. I'll come back at the end of the discussion to Councillor Crow's comments, but I think at this moment I'll open the debate for other Cabinet members. Is there anyone who'd like to speak? Councillor Irvine I saw first, then Councillor Sue Mullins. Yeah.
I just want to be very brief, Chair, because we have discussed it tonight, and I just want to say that we public opinion is important, but we do live in a representative democracy. I have no idea how the various parties or Reigate and Banstead voted the other night, but they did vote for the proposition. So if we combine their votes with our votes, then that's quite a large mandate in favour of this of this proposal. So on that basis, I think we should support it.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. I agree. Councillor Sue Mullins.
Thank you. Just very briefly, because obviously we've already been through quite a long debate, but I just want to reiterate once again that our Chief Executive member, he already outlined the process we have to go through. And it's not made easy for the Chief Executive or anybody sitting up on any of our officers because of the timelines and the time frame. And therefore, we have to work with what we've got. And I find it very distressing that the Leader of the Opposition is winding up people and talking about consultation when he knows perfectly well that this council consults on everything that we do and consults very widely. And you can't consult on something that doesn't actually exist yet. When we have proper proposals for the Borough to Reigate and Banstead one, and hopefully we get the proposals from the West Sussex, and hopefully we can work those together. But you and I know perfectly well sitting here that we're not in that position yet. That when we get those proposals and we can then go out and consult properly and inform our residents of the choices and what's available, it's not good enough to be going around stirring up people and trying to make out that loads of people are against because you've asked the wrong leading questions. And I feel very unhappy about that because we're here to serve our residents. All of us are here for that. That's what we were elected for. And that's what we should be caring about most, not about scoring points or making sure that we get in first and that we can get people to run against the council first, before people know what's being put on the table and what we can have. What we want is the best for Crawley and the best for our residents, and this is the right way to go about it.
Thank you, Councillor Mullins. Councillor Chris Mullins.
Yeah, I imagine, Leader, that if we do get the go-ahead for this, that there will need to be some meetings between the two councils to thrash some things out. I mean, my concern in all of it is what we've built in Crawley and how we protect it, how we carry on with our facilities and serving our people when we've got new masters who control our finance and those sorts of things. There's a lot of worries sitting inside of these proposals that mean that we are in a weakened situation, no matter who we go with, whether we go with West Sussex or we go with Reigate, we're still going to be in that situation where a larger body is controlling everything. And that is simply not good news for us, whatever way we look at it. So I think that there will be a need for some sort of negotiations with one or both of the bodies to see what sort of deals we can get to look after Crawley and its interests. And that's what we've got to do. And then when we've got stuff that we can write down, I imagine we can send leaflets to every household in Crawley explaining the pros and cons of the proposals and why we may be recommending one of the two of them. And I think that we need to think about what the strategy is going to be now, presuming that we've got two organisations that we could be joining. And we need to join the one that's in the best interests of Crawley and our residents. And I think that's very important that we approach this now with that attitude.
Thank you very much. I can't see any other Cabinet member wishing to speak. So thank you to the Cabinet members for their contributions and the other members. Just addressing a few of the comments, Councillor Sue Mullins, you're absolutely right. We will consult, and we will consult thoroughly. We've done many public consultations in the past. We've tried very hard to get through to everyone in those times, and sometimes people notice it, sometimes they don't. But we will certainly approach this all in good faith, and we definitely want to respond to what people are saying and what people want. And I can assure Councillor Chris Mullins that we will definitely explore the available options to us. Nothing's been ruled out, and it's right at the moment that we give everything a fair hearing, and I can absolutely assure you that we are. I continue to have fortnightly meetings with leaders of the West Sussex councils. The chief executives are meeting weekly. They all certainly knew about tonight's meeting going ahead, and our officers are working on joint arrangements with West Sussex, or the councils in West Sussex. So there's certainly no shortage of collaboration, and indeed this document is a testament to the really good cross-working with Reigate and Banstead. I think it would be churlish of me not to actually acknowledge some of the excellent work that not just our chief executive and our officers have done here, but also Reigate and Banstead have been incredibly impressive in what they've done, and it's led to some excellent conversations with not just our officers, but I've been pleased to talk to Councillor Richard Briggs about several issues that affect the two boroughs as well. Addressing, I think I've addressed Councillor Lunnon's comments, and thank you, Councillor Lunnon. Always extremely salient points. But I would just return to the Leader of the Opposition and some of the comments he's made. He predicts a backlash. He's quoted someone on social media. He takes pain to say he doesn't know. He mentioned at the full council there's a petition that's been signed by people from all over the world, and it's got about 1,000. And although the views of the signatories from Kuala Lumpur are interesting to note, I think it is the case that it's very difficult to regulate some of these petitions. I'm not saying that there aren't local people who signed it. I'm sure there are. But what I would say is that Crawley people want the best for Crawley. But opinions will differ on how that's achieved, and that's fine. And I'm sure that I could quite easily find a point of view I agreed with from an account, real or otherwise, if I went on social media. But I mean, can I just say a special hello to Emily, as she's been named, if she's still watching. Please be assured, Emily, that when we have these discussions, there is a little bit of cut and thrust in the debate, and there's nothing personally held in that regard. So I think the one other comment I'd make was that disaggregation got talked about in the full council, and I would just want to say that disaggregation of services will create issues however it's done, because the line will be drawn somewhere, but whatever we do, we will, as councillors, we will do it with the full advice of our officers and make sure that sensible and sustainable decisions are made that ensure the long-term future of what Crawley Borough becomes part of, if and when that occurs. So I think everyone's spoken and no one's come back. So on that basis, I move that the Cabinet approves all 4 parts of recommendation 2.2 as set out on page 4 of the supplementary agenda pack. Councillor Mullins, I believe you are seconding these recommendations. Indeed, I am. Thank you. In that case, is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you, Cabinet. I think that's clear. There is no supplementary agenda. So with the business of the Cabinet, the 7th of May concluded, the meeting is now closed at 9:59 p.m. So may I wish everyone a very pleasant and peaceful evening of what's left of it. Thank you. Please bear with us a moment while the webcast is switched off.